Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with the Focus. Wilson Sarpe Jr. I think will be joined in a little while by Justin Walters from Sports Ruckus. As always, start with the NBA playoffs. We had two game ones last night on Sunday. I had game ones. One where we had Milwaukee and Boston on Sunday, and then we had Golden State and Memphis on Sunday. Last night was the other two series. Excuse me. We're going to start with the Heat and the Sixers. Neither team shot the ball particularly well in game one. Miami used a big third quarter to pull away from Philadelphia. The Heat took advantage of Joel Embiid's absence by winning the battle on the glass 47-37, holding a 15-9 edge on the offensive glass as well. Five players scored in double figures for Miami, led by Tyler Hero's 25 points, 7 assists off the bench. Then Bam Adebayo had 24 points and 12 rebounds. The Sixers were led by Tobias Harris, who finished with 27 points and 6 rebounds. He was one of three players who scored in double figures for Philly. Maxey and Harden were the others with 19 and 16, respectively. Harden and Maxey were also responsible for half the team's turnovers. Maxey only had 2. James had 5. One thing you can't afford to do is turn the ball over against a team like Miami where, they make their bones on the defensive end. And again, going back to the poor shooting, Miami shot just 25% from deep. Philly shot even worse from that range, 17.6. And both teams shot just 43% from the floor. While you definitely don't expect these teams to shoot that bad, to shoot that poorly going forward, for the Sixers, we believe Embiid should play his first game in the series when the series shifts back to Philadelphia. You still would like to get one on the road if you're able to. They lost one of those opportunities. And for Miami, no Kyle Lowry. So it's another win without their floor general. And, the addition of Victor Oladipo starting to pay some dividends, having him to come off the bench, giving quality minutes, and just Miami's defense as a whole. The other thing, Miami, I don't know, Philly, again, both teams shot very poorly from three. Miami usually shoots better from three. Be interesting to see what changes in game 2 of that series. As for the second series last night, the second game of the night, rather, we had Phoenix get out to a very fast start against Dallas, and then they just simply out executed them, which is something that Phoenix is very capable of doing. And they were able to hold on for the 121 and 114 win. The Mavs were never able to dig themselves out of that early hole. Phoenix, they outscored Dallas by 10 in that opening quarter, but they hopped out to like a 9 or 12-2 start. And then think about the Suns, you got Chris Paul pulling the strings. It's not a team that's going to beat itself. Neither team turned the ball over much in this one. Between two teams, just 17 turnovers, and neither team hit 10. 6 players in double figures for Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton finished with 25 points and 8 rebounds. Devin Booker, I'm sure they're happy to have him back. He fell short of a triple-double with 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. Again, just outstanding efficiency from Phoenix. On the offensive end, their defense made their typical impact as well. They owned the glass 51-36. Dallas got a heck of a performance from Luka. 45 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. He was one of 4 players in double figures for Dallas. Jalen Brunson, who had a great series against the Jazz, he had a rough start to this one. He didn't have a great night shooting the ball, but Maxi Kleber did step up for them, especially in the first half where they were trying to just stay within striking distance, because Phoenix was definitely trying to deliver the knockout blow early in that one. Kleber knocked down 5 of 8 from deep, and Dallas needed every one of those shots to fall. This is going to be a fun series. You have 2 floor generals in Chris Paul, Luka Doncic, battling for controlling battling for a chance to control the tempo of each game. Um, it was great watching those two, do what they do for the respective teams last night. Obviously, the bigs. I think Jason Kidd had a quote before this series started, like, this isn't, some people, you can take this how it wanted, but pretty much saying there's a difference between the Utah centers who score sometimes and the Phoenix centers who, they do damage. They're involved a bit more offensively, I should say. And, you saw that last night for sure. As for tonight, we get game 2 of Milwaukee and Boston and game 2 of Memphis and Golden State. Last night we saw the home team win both games. On Sunday, we saw the road teams win. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. Gonna get, in terms of NFL today, we're gonna get into a few things. Get this off the screen real quick. Not done talking about draft yet. We're gonna take our time to go through each team. Each team's haul little by little in the coming days and weeks, what have you. Today, I just want to take a look at, excuse me, I just want to take a look at the trades that happened on draft day. Each day of the draft had a bunch of trades, what those trades directly led to, and, kind of just take a look to see, honestly, just were they worth it at that time, really, is what I wanted to take a look at. But give us a minute. We'll be right back, and we'll get started on that portion of today's show. All right, folks. Like we said, I'm going to get this change the banner. Draft day trades and just what they turned into, because there was a lot of action, literally on every day of the draft as far as trades go. So, gonna go through some of this little by little. Where we at? Here we go. We'll start here. We had the first trade on day one with the Saints and the Washington Commanders. The Saints gave up 16, 98, and 120 for 16, 98, and 120 for the chance to move up from 16. So to move up 5 spots, they gave up 3 picks, and clearly they had a certain somebody highlighted on the draft board, and Chris Olave. New Orleans decided they were not leaving that draft without Olave at all. That just wasn't going to happen. Then this was one of the question ones, because Minnesota traded with both Detroit and Green Bay, I believe, in this draft. Again, this is still on day one. We had Detroit trading with Minnesota. Detroit moved up from 32. They gave up 32, 34, and 66 to move up all the way to 12, and then still stay in the second round with a pick. They dropped down to 46 in that round. The players that were involved, and Minnesota got Lewisine at the end of the first. That's a good look. Then they then traded Detroit's pick, that 34 overall. They traded that to Green Bay, and Green Bay selected Christian Watson. Minnesota then, with the 66th pick, took Brian Asamoah. Detroit ended up getting Jameson Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, and then defensive end rather, Josh Pascal. Again, Minnesota, we hope those things don't come back to burn you. Then we had the Eagles. Oh man, the Eagles moved up. The Eagles were very busy during the draft as well. They moved up to 13 from 15. So they traded with the Texans. So the Texans picked up 15, 124, 162, and 166. That's a lot. Again, just to move up 2 spots. Houston took Kenyon Green. They traded 124 to Cleveland, and they traded 162 to Denver. Then they traded 166 to Chicago. But most important for Philadelphia, Jordan Davis was somebody they were not willing to leave that first round with in the least bit. It just wasn't happening. Then we found out what this one was about because it felt like it came out of thin air. We had Arizona trading with Baltimore. Baltimore traded Marquise Brown. They picked up the 23rd overall pick, which they traded to Buffalo. Arizona received Hollywood Brown and the 100th overall pick, which they turned into Myjai Sanders. Baltimore traded 23 to Buffalo, and Buffalo selected Kyrie Elam. But again, we found out why that happened was because DeAndre Hopkins, got suspended for the first 6 weeks due to PEDs. So we won't see DeAndre Hopkins until week 7. And now we know why there was a sense of urgency to trade for one Hollywood Brown. Then we had Philadelphia again. This was to get A.J. Brown. They gave up 18 overall and then 101. Tennessee, with the 18th selection, they took Treylon Burks to eventually, step into that role A.J. Brown had in Tennessee, ideally be their next wide receiver 1. And then with their 3rd round pick, they traded that to the Jets, and the Jets took Jeremy Ruckert. Philadelphia, more importantly, they got A.J. Brown and paid him immediately. 4 years, $157 million guaranteed. I think the signing bonus was somewhere around $23 million. All right. New England to Kansas City. Kansas City moved up to 21. They were picking at 29. So Kansas City got 29, 94, and 121. New England got 29, 94, and 121. Kansas City moved up to 21 to take corner Trent McDuffie. New England took Cole Strange with the 29th overall pick. That pick changed hands several times. It was part of the San Francisco trading up to go get Trey Lance. That was part of that trade. It was the 2nd first-round pick in that trade, technically, because the first pick was the one they swapped from 12 to get to 3. New England decided to use it on guard Cole Strange. Then pick 94, New England traded that to Carolina. Carolina used that to select Matt Corral. And then in the 4th round, New England kept their pick, and they took Jack Jones. All right, Baltimore. With that 23rd overall pick that Baltimore got in the Hollywood Brown trade, again, they traded that to Buffalo, so Buffalo could select Kyrie Elam, and Baltimore just moved down 2 spots, kept it moving. Selected center Tyler Linderbaum with the 25th overall pick, and then in round 4 they took punter Jordan Stout. All right, the Jets. So many trades, y'all. The Jets. They went. They moved back up into the first round, to the 26th pick overall. They wanted Jermaine Johnson. Was somebody they highlighted. I think Jermaine Johnson was saying the Jets told him, like if you slide, we're going to come get you, and they held their word. So to move up to the 26th pick, they gave up 35, 69, and 163. The Jets received 26 and 101. 101, we already mentioned they took Jeremy Rucker. 26 overall, they took Jermaine Johnson. Tennessee, 35 was, what is that? That was a top 5 pick in the second round. They took corner Roger McCreary with the 69th pick in round 3. They took offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere. And then in the 5th round, they took wide receiver Kyle Phillips. Again, this is all day one trades. This is still day one trades. We had that much action. The Jags, they moved back up into round 1. They gave up 33, 106, and 180 to Tampa Bay, and to get the 27th overall pick, to which they took like 4 linebackers in this draft. And this was the second linebacker they took, this one being Devin Lloyd, to go into their middle of their defense. Tampa Bay slid down to 33. They took Logan Hall. 106, they took Cade Otton. Excuse me. In the 6th round, they traded that pick to Buffalo, and Buffalo took punter Matt Araiza. On to day 2, man. And I think this is the Christian Watson trade. All right, so we talked about Minnesota earlier making moves. The 34th overall pick, Green Bay took Christian Watson. Minnesota received the 53rd overall pick. They traded that to Indianapolis. And then with the 59th pick, Minnesota selected guard Ed Ingram. The Jets, they moved back up. They moved up just a little bit. It was 2 spots. They traded with the Giants. They gave up 38 and 146. The Jets wanted to go get Breece Hall, which I don't knock them for at all. No, they had Michael Carter last year. You had another talented running back to that room. We know in that scheme, it's definitely running back by committee, regardless of who you have as RB1. And the Giants, they traded 38 to Atlanta, who selected Arnold Ebiketie, and then they selected Micah McFadden at 146, which was the 5th round. New York, oh man. Atlanta received that Atlanta moved 38. Atlanta picked 38 from the Jets. Again, they took the pass rusher in Ebiketie. What the Giants got was Wan'Dale Robinson, which they took with the 43rd overall pick, and then pick 114, which was in the 4th round. They got Dane Belton. Here's Minnesota. Once again, man. So we talked about number 53. They got moved a little earlier. That was Alec Pierce. Pick 77. They took Bernhard Raymond, tackle. And in round 6, they had pick 192. That was Andrew Ogletree. Minnesota got the 42nd overall pick in that trade. They took Andrew Booth, continue to add to the secondary. In the 4th round, they traded that pick to the Raiders, who selected Zamir White. Houston moved up to 44 in a trade with Cleveland. Houston got pick 44. They took John Mechie III from Alabama. Cleveland, they went down to 68. They took another DB. They took Martin Emerson. They also got 108 out that deal and 124 by way of Philadelphia. 108, they took Perion Winfrey, which I think is a good fit. They definitely need a little bit more depth on the interior of their defensive line. And Winfrey is a disruptor. With 124, they took a kicker in Cade York. The Patriots got a lot of business done with the Chiefs this draft. Don't know why, but they did. So we'll go ahead and go into their second trade. And this one was interesting. I think if you guys heard us leading up to the draft, all y'all heard me screaming about Tyquan Thornton. Well, Bill Belichick liked them too. We'll see how that works out. They traded up with the Chiefs to go to number 50. I don't know if I personally feel like I'm sure we'll never find out that the Chiefs didn't think New England was moving up there for a wide receiver, especially one with that type of speed. I feel like that's more of a Kansas City's thing. That said, they went up to go get Tyquan Thornton, who ran a blistering 40 time and plays at that same blistering speed. Kansas City did get their wide receiver, however. They were patient, slid down 4 spots. They selected Sky Moore, and they also got 158, which they traded to Seattle, and Seattle took Tyreek Smith. The Buccaneers traded with the Bills. They wanted to move up 3 spots from 60 to 57. They took Luke Gadecki, Buffalo. They took 60, and they traded that pick to Cincinnati, who took Cam Taylor-Britt. And they kept pick 180 in that trade as well. And Buffalo took Matt Araiza, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. The Bengals, they moved up 3 spots to get Cam Taylor-Britt, as we mentioned. Pick 63, the Bills took James Cook, which I think is a great pick for them. And then they picked up 209, which was a 6th-round pick. They took Luke Tenuta. Sorry. The Texans made a trade with the Broncos. They moved up 5 spots from 80 to 75. I took Alabama linebacker Christian Harris. Not a shock. We know who's running things over in Houston. That tracks, man. New England loves Alabama players. And, you took a couple people from New England, put them in your front office. They'll take Alabama players too. With the 80th overall pick, Denver took tight end Greg Dulcich. Not a bad look at all. 162, which came way of Philadelphia. They took wide receiver Montrell Washington. This was a very, very interesting trade because everyone was wondering what happened to Malik Willis, why he was falling, when he was going to come off the board. Tennessee moved up 4 spots. They traded with the Raiders. They moved up to 86 to take Malik Willis, to have a quarterback, hopefully to work with, to groom for the future. Quali, as Ryan Tannehill kind of finishes up his contract there, I don't think Tannehill will be looking over his shoulder immediately this year, but this could be Tannehill's last year in Tennessee. As for the Raiders, they picked up pick 90. They took guard Dylan Parham, and they got pick 169, but they traded that to Minnesota, who selected running back Ty Chandler. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but Carolina got 94 from New England. By way of Kansas City, they took Matt Corral in the 3rd round, and New England picked up number 137. Again, that's by way of Los Angeles through Houston. They took Bailey Zappi, quarterback, and they also picked up a 3rd rounder in this trade, which is, I'm not mad at that at all for New England. Why not? You got your backup quarterback. You picked up a 3rd rounder for 2023 from a team that, we don't know how Carolina's going to do this year. There's a chance that 3rd rounder might be a good pick. You had a lot of, to wrap up day 2 trades, a lot of trades within conference and within divisions. Really weird, but I guess, business is truly business in that regard. All right, give me a minute. We got Justin jumping in here in just a few. So as soon as he gets set up, bring him on. But that's what we're stopping right now, the Colts and the Broncos at the moment. Colts, Broncos, the Colts move up to 96. They went from 179 to 96. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. I think we got Justin now. What's going on, Justin? Guess you can't hear me yet? Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me? Not yet? Okay. We'll give Justin a minute to jump back out and come back in. But the Colts wanted to move up. They saw Nick Cross. They didn't want to waste any time. They slid up to 96, selected Nick Cross. Denver got 179, and then a third rounder in 2023. Again, Denver, New England, out here thinking a year ahead, which isn't a bad thing at all. You gotta like that, right? Give me 1 second to see if Justin's good. Hey, Justin, you able to hear me? We'll take that as a no. What's going on, Sid? I feel like the Cardinals and Ravens both won their trade day one. Yeah, I feel like it was kind of out of necessity, and I think that's the thing. We just didn't know that. I think none of us knew at that time that DeAndre Hopkins was going to be missing 6 weeks. I think the only people that knew were the Cardinals, and I'm not going to get mad at the Cardinals. One, it's something that can help you now and later, and it's for the Ravens. If dude didn't want to be there, and you probably weren't going to be able to get an extension when that time came, I mean, you got a first rounder back. I can't get mad at that at all. I know some people would have liked them to get a wide receiver, what have you, in the draft with one of those higher selections. But Baltimore is going to go about their business the way they want to go about their business. I like that they added to their tight end room. But yeah, I think it was one of those, just it was a win-win for both sides. Like, you needed another explosive element with DeAndre being out 6 weeks. And even when he comes back, you lost Christian Kirk's another explosive element. Like Hollywood and that pass-happy system, he should be a little bit more productive than he was in Baltimore. Again, should be. But appreciate you, Sid, with the comment. Okay, and then I think we talked about that already, but Denver traded 179 to Green Bay, and Green Bay took Edge, Kingsley, and Gabari. All right, now to go to day 3 trades, which were always fun and interesting. All right, Justin, we got you back. Yeah, you here? Okay, we can hear you. I guess you can hear me. All right. We will try again in just a bit. All right, so what do we have? We had, oh yeah, okay, sorry. I know where I'm at now. A couple of 6th rounders being traded here. All right. Try this again. Hey, Justin, you there?
Yeah, what is going on now? Jeez.
Okay, so yeah, he still can't hear me. Technology is fun. All right, so with the Bears and the Chargers, the Chargers received a 2023 6th, and the Bears got picked 254 and 255 in the 7th. One they used on defensive back Elijah Hicks. The other one they used on punter Trenton Gill. The Vikings, again, very, very, very active. They moved up to the 4th to take Caleb Evans. It cost them 156 and a 2023 4. That's interesting, but I mean, they picked up some picks and were able to get some ammo to move around. So we'll see. All right, Justin, we're gonna try again. Can you hear me? I'm gonna take that as a no still. Yeah, I'm gonna take that as a no for the moment. All right, so this again, Carolina, Washington, they traded Washington 5th round pick 144. They get Sam Howell, and with pick 149 they get Cole Turner. Carolina got pick 120 and 189. They picked up Brandon Smith, who Justin was talking about a lot to me before the draft started, heading into the draft out of Penn State, which is interesting because you would think that Washington wanted to add a linebacker for like Brandon Smith. Could have helped there a little bit, but they took Sam Howell, which, they want to get a young quarterback to add to their group. Who might have told them they're wrong, right? And then Carolina, obviously adding to their defense, they double down. They go with edge Amari Barno. He's a physical specimen. We'll see how they're able to use him. Raiders and Vikings, again, we talked about this a little bit ago. You good, Justin?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
It had
I
you,
just been
you were
going.
talking like slow motion. Had you talking like super slow motion.
It's all good. Um, we're just going through these trades. I think I just got to day 3, so it's all good. Um, is there any trades you can think of that you knew that stood out? Just let me know. Sid talked about they got Bateman, Duvernay in the top 3 tight end. Yeah, I do think Baltimore's gonna be fine too. I know they brought in a bunch of wide receivers, and UDFAs, what have you. But again, like they should be fine. Honestly. I know they got Isaiah Likely. I think he'll fit right on in there with that tight end group. He's explosive. Mark Andrews is what a top 3, top 5 tight end in this game. Wherever you want to rank him is your preference. I'm not going to tell you where you need to put him or where he shouldn't be. But you got one of the best tight ends in football. You still got one of the better quarterbacks in football. Still got one of the better running games in football, and you add it to your defense. And maybe now they could get more out of Duvernay. I feel like he was kind of an afterthought last year quite a bit. But again, that's just for me and my little 2 cents. So could just mean nothing.
I agree with you on that. It's funny because everyone's like so focused on you have to replace a body with another body. And just because you take a third rounder this year doesn't mean he's better than last year's third rounder. Like you said, a guy like Duvernay, you've seen him make plays in the NFL. Maybe not obviously as much as Marquise Brown. Maybe Marquise Brown was holding up some of his targets. You know what I mean? So we don't really know what some of the teams, it's so hard because, like you said, there's guys every year that they pick a guy in the second, third round, and we kind of just forget about them. We don't know what they were doing in practice or if they were developing a guy, a 5th or 6th round guy from last year that might be ready to make a jump. So when the team doesn't take a player, we just assume that there's a huge hole there, but there might just be a guy that from the year before, or even like you said with some of these undrafted free agents or these late round picks, maybe the team really wanted the guy and they passed on him a few times and they were surprised he was there and they took him and they actually had plans for him.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that stands out, I think sometimes people just look at it as like they had 2 little guys, right? All right. In terms of difference in size, Marquise Brown is 5'9", 180.
Right.
Okay. We know he could fly. Devin Duvernay, much more solid package, right? As an athlete. 5'11", 210.
Right.
This
And
world's
a Pro Bowl returner,
Yeah, and from a speed standpoint, bro, they're both dumb fast.
Right.
But one is 5'11", 210. With the way the Ravens play, that might be it. He might be a better fit to what they want to do anyways, honestly.
Right.
Physically, that he can, some things Hollywood struggle with, just hold on to the ball through contact, things like that. You 5'11", 210, you're a little bit more solid. You can throw your weight around a little bit. At 5'9", 180, you don't have any weight to throw around.
Right.
Honestly. So that's something to keep in mind, like you said, sometimes it really is simple, and sometimes addition by subtraction, even though Hollywood was he received more targets at that time.
Right.
But what is it going to be year 2 for Duvernay?
3 maybe?
Yeah, 2 or 3. So I mean, yeah. And again, didn't they get who they got? What is it they have out there? Give me a second. I'm about to try to go see what's in their wide receiver room.
They had they picked Bateman last year.
It's Bateman, Duvernay, like Miles Boykin or something, right? Or is Boykin not there anymore?
I think they got rid of Boykin. I think Boykin's on Pittsburgh or something.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right on that. So I'm trying to see who the wide receivers are. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so
we don't even know what their plan is. I mean, maybe they're more of a 2 tight end team, a single back 2 tight end, and
that's what it might be, honestly. So at tight end, they got Mark Andrews, Charlie Kolar, who they drafted, Isaiah Likely, they doubled up at tight ends, and then Nick Boyle's still there, right? Wide receiver, you got Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay, Tylan Wallace and Benjamin Victor, and then this year, this is what they brought in. Whether it was by trade or via UDFA, Slade Bolden from Alabama, Emeka Amizi, I think that's NC State, Shamar Bridges, Devin Williams, and Trevon Clark.
Right.
And Emeka Amizi could be interesting. That's another bigger body dude that can run.
Right, definitely.
So, again, You said sometimes it's not like apples to apples when you remove somebody. You just have to make up their production. They don't have to be the same type of player. I think sometimes that's where people get it mixed up just a little bit. All right, so the Raiders Vikings. This was a late round trade. The Raiders received 122 and 250. Minnesota received 126 and 227. Minnesota traded that pick to Vegas, who selected Neil Farrell. They kept pick 227 and selected tight end Nick Muse. Vegas selected Zamir White. Again, we touched on that a little bit earlier. And then they selected Britton Brown, doubling up a tight end as, they told everybody from the Mayock drafts that you are not having your fifth-year option accepted. So very interesting. Again, the Raiders and Vikings. Oh my goodness, the Vikings made so many trades this year. 160. Minnesota got 165 and 169, and that was for pick 126. We talked about that. The Raiders took Neil Farrell. Minnesota got at 165. They took Azizi Atamawo, defensive end, and then Ty Chandler, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. Kansas City and Seattle. Kansas City received pick 145. They took tackle Darian Kennard. Seattle, they got 158 by way of Miami and New England. They took Tyree Smith. And then 233 from Minnesota, and they took Derek Young. Then you had the Browns. This weird trade, but so be it. The Browns traded Troy Hill back to the Rams for a fifth round 2023. Interesting, I guess, but why not? If you're the Rams, you wonder how they keep going about their business. That's how you let somebody leave and then you trade back for them, I guess. It's crazy. The Bills trade with the Bears. Chicago got pick 168 and pick 203. They selected Braxton Jones at 168 and then running back Tristan Ebner at 203. Buffalo, however, they wanted to move up to 148. And get Khalil Shakir, which I think is a good pick too. I like Khalil Shakir and Cook going to Buffalo. I definitely like both of them. We touched on this trade a little bit earlier, but this was Houston and Chicago once again. Houston got pick 150. They selected Stanford defensive tackle Thomas Booker. Chicago got pick 166, which they traded to Cincinnati, who took Tyson Anderson. And then they kept pick 207 and selected center Doug Kramer. Yeah, Jacksonville and Philly. Philly got pick 188 and 198. They flipped pick 188 to Detroit, who took Malcolm Rodriguez, a linebacker, and 198 from Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, pick tight end Grant Calcaterra, sorry about that. And Jacksonville took pick 154 and took running back Snoop Connor. Man, it was a really, really, really busy day. Jesse, did you have any trades that came to mind that you knew just off the top of your head that you thought were really good or really bad during this?
You know what? The one that was kind of interesting to me was the, for a mid-round was the Patriots. Who they trade? Where they think Kansas City in the second round, where they went up from I think 54 to 50.
Yep, and took Tyquan Thornton.
Right. And still allowed Kansas City to get Sky Moore, which kind of it's interesting because people were so high on Sky Moore, and I think like that was where that runner receiver started, and they took Thornton before a couple of the bigger name receivers. Kind of just showed the love that how much they wanted them, and I don't know who they thought was going to take them. Because you had was that right before Pickens and all those guys too, right?
Yeah, it was. And again, KC had the 50th pick.
Right.
So I think maybe I don't like I'm still and obviously no one's ever going to tell me. I don't think KC thought they were going up to get a wide receiver.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't think that. I'm not saying KC didn't want Sky Moore.
Unless they told them who they were taking.
Yeah. Well, unless that kind of like, we know you like Sky Moore. We won't take him.
Right. But it's just what makes you wonder what team they were trying to cut in front of,
Right.
Because Thornton was expected to go in the fourth, fifth, by media, I guess, but you never know.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then we had Jacksonville and Tampa Bay with the trade. Jacksonville received a 2023 four. Tampa Bay got pick 157, which they took Zion McCollum, the DB, and then 235 that they got from that pick came from Baltimore, but they traded to the Rams, who took Daniel Hardy.
Right.
I'm trying to see any other big trades. Oh, we got Kyron Williams. All right, so Raiders and Rams. The Rams got pick 164. They took Kyron Williams. I'm not surprised the Rams continue to add to their running back room just because of injuries. And then
And he's a receiving, more for receiving too, so something different.
And then Vegas received 175 and 238. They took Matthew Butler, defensive tackle, and then offensive tackle Thayer Munford. Bears and Bengals in the 5th round. They trade. The Bengals got pick 166. They took Tyson Anderson, which we talked about earlier. The Bears got pick 174 and 226. They took Dominique Robinson, the freaky trait edge rusher. And then they took tackle Ja'Tyre Carter. I think we already talked about Kingsley and Gabare and going to Denver. Going to Green Bay in a trade with Denver. Green Bay also picked up pick 234. They took Jonathan Ford. Denver got center Luke Wattenberg at 171. The Eagles and Lions trade. Again, this is day 3 picks. They traded one. The Eagles traded up from 188 to 181. It cost them 188 and 237. Detroit took Malcolm Rodriguez and Chase Lucas. Philadelphia selected linebacker Kyron Johnson. We talked about the Rams and the Bucks. Tampa Bay moved up to 218. It cost them 235 and 271. They gave up 2 sevens to get a 6. Tampa Bay selected tight end Cole Kieft, and the Rams took Daniel Hardy and AJ Arcuri, which is a tackle. But yeah, man, those are all the trades from the 3 days of the draft. A ton of trades, and we'll see.
Wasn't it kind of weird? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you notice it was kind of weird? It was kind of weird how it felt like teams would make a move and then realize a player was left. Like, wow, oh, this guy's left. Let's go get him. It's like moving down, moving up, moving down, moving up, and it was just, you just kept realizing different players. Like if you just look at different rounds, you'll see a 6th, 7th round pick that you expected to go in a 2nd or 3rd. I think teams just would move down. Then they'd beat out. They'd I guess look at the board and see a guy and that was like, okay, well, we got to go up and get him because we didn't expect him to be here. And then another team would do the same. It just kept happening throughout the draft. So it's like no real consistency of teams just saying, one team moving up. It was just teams just moving all over the board and grabbing players they like.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though, right? We saw teams handle this totally different ways because it was just a weird draft in terms of what positions were being valued and devalued. And then you had teams that, just they refused to wait and see if players would fall to them, and got other teams that were just super patient, like, hey, my board's my board. Whatever falls to me, I'm gonna get something I like no matter what. And I guess to me that's what was really interesting to me, which is watching some teams that were super assertive and some teams that were just, hey, we're comfortable with what happened. I see something that I need is, there isn't a high value on it right now. It's dropping. Man, I'll get this after the draft. Some teams did all the above. Feel like Baltimore traded down 19 times and got good players every time. So it was certainly interesting. Any other thoughts you had you wanted to add to it? Just talking about the trades from draft day. All right. I'm going to take that as a no at the moment. But we will be back with tomorrow. We won't be back tomorrow. We'll be back on Thursday morning. And we'll start breaking down teams. So if you guys got suggestions or divisions that you want us to start with, just let us know. So we'll start breaking down these draft halls one by one, little by little. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see you guys Thursday morning.